Welcome to today's video. We are going to be comparing the two NBA GOATs, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. Leave that debate up to you guys. Today, we're just going to be talking about two examples of cards. And the first LeBron is going to be this 2003 Topps Chrome LeBron James Rookie Refractor PSA 10. We are going to be comparing it to the 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan PSA 8. So what you might be asking is, what is the same about these cards? The LeBron is over 3 times the price. The pop is way, way different. The market cap is super different. Everything seems to be pretty different about these cards. Well, let's go to my first example here, which is this price chart, which I just want to make you aware of these dates. This is from 2005 to about 2016, so over a decade ago, but over a decade of prices. Pretty fairly say that you know the price of these two cards based on these sales that had happened. So again, everything seems to be a lot different. The pop is incredibly different. The values are incredibly different. The market cap is incredibly different. Obviously, the sales are also incredibly different. But what I want to talk about is how during this period in time, these cards were very similarly valued. If anything, the blue, by the way, I apologize. The blue is the Jordan and the green is the LeBron. So the Jordan, for a majority of this decade, was worth more than the LeBron. Here's a sale in 2008 of the LeBron for 300. A similar sale the day before of the Jordan for 500. So you can almost say that the Jordan was almost double the price at a certain point in time. You see here that this was the first time that they really matched up together. You do have this incredible similar sale in 2012. And again, I know the market was completely different, but that's why I'm just comparing these two, because at one point in time, these two cards were the same value, and I would say that you could argue for multiple years these cards were the same value. Here's an example of the first time the LeBron sold for more than the Jordan, but then there's an example where that changed very quickly. That changed rather quickly. Here's another example of the LeBron selling for less than the Jordan. Very similar time, a week later. So that's why I'm using these two as an example to kind of show you how really values can change, and cards that might be more expensive, even twice as expensive, can end up being 3 times less expensive. And fortunately, both of these cards rose in price from this. They did not drop. And I know this is an extreme example as this started to climb up, but you could see these values stayed very steadily close together. Here's another example, 1,500 for the LeBron, 1,600 for the Jordan. These values stayed very, very close together. Now we are going to look from basically the end of the last chart to today, and you could see that these, again, look very close together, but they are a little bit off when you look at it. This is when you start to really see the LeBron go past the Jordan, but it's a little harder to see because we're zoomed out, and this is making everything look way closer together. But even though, again, these are close together, when you see what's actually selling, the LeBron is selling for 5 times as much, basically 4 or 5 times as much at this point. You could see that the peak of COVID did not really affect the price of the Jordan as much, although it did have it go up. The price of the LeBron went from, once selling for $50,000 to selling for almost 300,000. Obviously, the prices come down from there, but you can see a considerable amount of a gap between the price of the Jordan and LeBron compared to maybe you could see in this chart here. So again, these are the last sold of the two cards, almost $30,000 and almost $8,000. I would contribute this to one thing, which involves two factors, and that is rarity and condition. So how do we determine rarity? When you look at the population count, I do believe that is a good indicator for rarity. So as you could see, this is incredibly more rare than the Jordan, as well as the condition is obviously better. So there's no argument that a PSA 10 Jordan is worth more than the LeBron if we take a look over, when you want to talk about a similar population. This is closer to 300, which is way closer when you talk about the actual rarity and the same condition and the same rarity of Jordan compared to LeBron. That's more, I think, comparing the player when it comes to the price of the value. But even the 9, again, which has a higher population, is still, half the price when it has 3,000 pop. But this also was way more expensive when you look at, the all time in some of these examples that we're looking at. This was always, 3, 4 times more expensive than a LeBron. So you could even see how you could have bought 2 or 3 LeBrons at this time when you were buying a PSA 9 Jordan and still have the LeBron be worth more. So that's why I think it's such an interesting example, because this card, the lowest, I could have used a PSA 9 for this example, but again, they were a little bit further in price than the 8 was to the LeBron. But these two cards were so similar in price for a decade almost, and now they are widely far apart in terms of what they are worth right now. So I don't really know, I guess, what to do with this information, like how you could capitalize on this information right now. I just kind of wanted to put it out there and kind of say, like, there's definitely this is definitely an example of where you put your money in right now in the next 5, 10 years. Even if people, I would probably say, would assume that the Jordan would be worth more with not as much information, but like the LeBron being worth 3 times as much might surprise people when they were so similar in price. And obviously, I would say these Jordan buyers would have believed that the Jordan would be worth more than the LeBron at this point. So I just thought that was a little interesting comparison that I noticed, that how close these were in value. And if anybody finds it interesting, please let me know what you think. Obviously, everything else is different about the cards, the grades, the brands, the pop, everything is different about this card, except for the fact that for a decade, they were very close to each other in price. And you could have had either one of these cards over 15 years ago, and one would have made you 3 times as much as the other. Again, all are profitable. Both made money. Both made a lot of money. As you can see, the change is $26,000. This one being $5,000, over 1,000% and over 200%. So if you made 200% of your portfolio over the last 15 years, you're probably in a good spot regardless. But again, I just think it's interesting to see that these are so close in price. Now that there's so many cards selling right now, I just kind of want to use it as an example of, you can be one card off. You could still buy the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and for the same price, the baby GOAT, maybe, depending on how you guys feel. Some of you might be LeBron GOATs, but and have the values really change that much. And God forbid you were the person who sold that 300K. Then we're talking a whole different ballgame. Or even a person that was selling for above 50K and 80K. There's plenty of sales here to justify somebody making way more money at this point than we're even talking about the value of the cards right now as they stand, as they've dropped. But again, just thought this was an interesting example. Let me know if this does anything for you guys. Just comparing these two cards. I apologize. Let me go back to the 8. Just comparing these two cards. They used to be the same price. Now they're different. Let me know what you think about that. Thank you for watching.